advance to the next slide. Oops. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. I appreciate that you took this time out to be with us. I'm Sandi Scheinbaum. I am the founder and CEO of Functional Medicine Coaching Academy, and our co-founder and our Chief Wellness Officer, who is Elyse Wagner, is also here tonight to answer your questions. So we are going to get started. I have some slides that I want to share, and I'm going to talk to you about business, launching your business. And we look at business in two ways. One would be if you are going out as more of an entrepreneur and you're starting a business on your own. Or the other way is if you want to connect with a practitioner and you want to join a practice with them. And they're both aspects of business building. And so that's why we're putting them together. So the message that I'm going to share will be for whatever you might be interested in, or if you want to do a blending, which many people do. So by the end of this presentation, you will learn some very specific tips and strategies for really knocking it out of the park in terms of building what we're calling a heart-centered business that is outside the box. And what outside the box means, it's using your character strength of creativity. We all have creativity, and we all are able to put our own unique stamp on the business that we create. So let's get started. So there are several areas that we're going to go over. The first one, which I consider so important, is mindset mastery, best legal, financial, and business practices, growing your business, preparing for the future of health coaching, and some strategies for success. These 5 areas are the key areas that we focus on our new business building track, which comes as part of our core curriculum. You get it. There's no extra cost for that. So let's begin with mindset mastery. And I love this quote. It's from Lisa Sasevich, and she says, first, you start with selling to yourself, and you make this first decision that you're not going to live what she says is a woulda, coulda, shoulda life. In other words, you look at where do you want to be? What do you want your future to look like? And we cover this in her talk, which is the Meant for More journey. And Lisa Sasevich wrote Meant for More. It's one of the books that we are recommending people read to accompany this talk. Along with our talks, there's going to be worksheets, so it's a personal exploration. And Lisa says you sell to yourself first, and that's often the hardest. You're going to be your toughest customer because you have an obstacle to overcome. You want to believe that you have value, and many people struggle with that, no matter how many degrees they have or how accomplished they are. So you sell to yourself first. And what do you do? What does that really mean? It means truly believing that you're meant for more. You have a mission, a purpose in life. You have dreams. And true transformation requires that we not just have these dreams, but we turn them into a reality. And that comes from the world famous, the renowned Mary Morrissey. And we're so privileged to have Mary on our faculty, who talks about design your dreams. She is known as the dream builder. So how do you do that? Where do you start designing your dreams? You start with this question: what do I love? This is very different from where we're trained. We may be trained to ask, what can I do? But we start with, what do I love? Create your coaching dream from there. So what you love is what the difference you're going to make in the world. You have a passion for helping. You love helping people, perhaps. Most people, I would say this is not most, it's everybody who comes to FMCA has a passion for giving, for helping. And you design the specifics of this calling to be a health coach. And yes, it is a calling because it's a real strong desire to serve others. And that's how you often may feel that you're meant for more. What does that really look like? We talk about being a giver rather than a taker. So many people on our business track faculty talk about that. It's a common trait that people who go into coaching have. So they can also be a giver when they're starting their business. And Michael Fishman, who is the head of the Consumer Health Summit, developed that program. And he has worked with many, many founders of very, very high-level health and wellness companies. And his presentation was, he calls lead from the heart. It's heart-centered. What does that really mean? It's serving through hospitality. We generally associate hospitality with a service industry like a hotel, restaurant, but we talk about it here because you want to serve others with hospitality. What does that really mean? It's the emotional experience of doing business with you. And you lead with generosity because people respond to relationships that are driven by giving. It means you contribute without asking for something in return. You will learn that that is the nature of a coach relationship with a client. And this is how it can lead eventually to financial abundance when you are a giver, not a taker. And there are many business building books that are based on this very important premise. So giving is part of that crucial coaching relationship. And Michael says the truest expression of caring service is when there's no other agenda. Well, what does that mean? Well, there are things that could interfere with hospitality, ability to be fully present and give, a challenging day, unresolved trauma, uncomfortable feelings like embarrassment, shame, anger, guilt. And so in functional medicine, we talk about gathering yourself. And part of our program is teaching you that very essential process to gather yourself, whether it is for a potential client, a potential doctor that might want to hire you or refer to you, or in a coaching relationship. And it starts by acknowledging these unpleasant feelings. And to learn more about that, we turn to the best, which is my good friend, Dr. Joan Rosenberg. And she talks about emotional mastery. So you gain control over these uncomfortable feelings. They're common, we all experience them. But you can not only experience them, but move through them, more importantly. And express. How do you express unpleasant feelings, or do you hold it all in? And mostly it's the ones that are like shame, embarrassment, sadness, anger, disappointment. And what actions are going to stem from them? How can you shift and acknowledge them? And then we teach the ways of actually shifting to a state that would be more realistic thinking and also serve you better. And that then is related to how you communicate, because communication comes in many ways. It's the words we use, both verbal and written. It's our facial expression, our body language. And so we place a strong emphasis on communication in our business building track, your presentation. And it starts with your story. How do you tell your story? As Chris Smith says, the only thing that you have to differentiate yourself is your story. And so we work with you on refining, perfecting that story. So it's unique, and telling your story is really the key, because others may have the same program, they may do the same type of work as you, but nobody can say that they are who you are. You have that unique story. Nobody has that exact one. And it's the telling of it, that's how you connect with other people and build relationships. And that leads to something that is extremely important that you will get asked. We call this the elevator speech. It's what do you do? How do you answer that question? So I want to share some examples. You ask, what do you do? And someone says, I'm a certified health coach who helps people reach their health goals and achieve optimal wellness through individual or group client-centered coaching, either in person or remotely. That might be true. That is telling them exactly what you do, but how effective is that? How about this one? I help dads working from home who are stressed, gaining weight around the middle, and losing their sex drive. Well, it's possible that by telling that to somebody else, they might relate. They might say, oh, you're telling, that's my husband, or that's me. And so now they might ask further, well, how do you do that? Or they're going to be engaged. And so this is a very powerful, you have an opportunity to really connect. I just heard somebody talk about this actually just before we got on for the talk, and she was saying, like, you have to get them at hello. And she gave this example, which I loved. She said she was talking to a landscaper, and he said how he describes what he does is, I move the earth. Wow. Now it's aroused your curiosity. Well, what do you mean? What do you do? And then another trick is you may think that you're the greatest, and you are, but if somebody else is saying that, that's even better. And it's kind of the form of a testimonial where you're saying, well, my clients, so if, let's say, my clients tell me that that they were feeling, fatigued, and now they have energy and get up and go. And so you're relating a testimonial. So I thought that was pretty cool. So you may take that dad example and say, but wait a minute, I want to serve everybody. And almost everybody thinks that when they come to us to train to be coaches, but we show them that narrowing down actually expands your audience. And it is so exciting when we work with people to discover their niche. It's like, wow, it's like a light bulb goes off. They are so excited about discovering this. And it usually relates back to who you are, what you're passionate about. And so we brought out my friend JJ Virgin, who talks about discovering your niche. And she describes it like peeling an onion. It's really doubling down on one area. And having a niche is how people find you. Then we go into the specifics, the nitty-gritty of legal, financial, business practices. You're going into business, setting it up, and there's a lot of things you're not going to know. Elyse and I didn't know how to run a business when we started FMCA 5 years ago, and we learned. Use a sole proprietor, LLC, S Corp. Most people would say that an LLC is the way to go to protect your personal assets, but it's individualized. So everything, like in functional medicine, is personalized. What's going to fit for your needs? A P&L. I didn't even know what that was when I started. So we teach that, and as well as subjects like, what about copyright infringement? You want to protect your intellectual property, and even if you don't seek an actual copyright trademark, just by producing it, that gives you those rights. And what do you do if it's violated? And there is no such thing as a dumb question, particularly in this area. And so we start out by teaching the real basics. And then growing your business. It's all about relationships, connections. How do you connect with people, whether virtually or in person? And how do you nurture those relationships? This is what Jay Abraham, one of the greatest marketers in the world, has said. It's far better to be interested than interesting. It means curiosity. That's a character strength you'll learn about in positive psychology. So be curious. You want to really be listening to that person as if they are your whole world for that time that you're engaged with them. And it's so important. And where do you start? Well, we brought on Leslie Beitel, who talks about a referral base is the most effective strategy out there, and you start local. You start with people in your own hometown who you know, even if now we're not connecting live in person. That's how you build a referral network, and we talk a lot about that. She says, recommending, like, there's so many meetup groups now, and connect and find out all of those options. This is a great one, partner with local businesses. It's powerful. Where does your target market go for services? And go in with an open attitude. Perhaps it's a yoga studio. I once had an event that I shared with a plastic surgeon in my community because she was having these wellness open houses. And I said, oh, I'd love to be a part of that and share. I was a psychologist at the time, but I was focusing on using relaxation techniques, helping people with panic and helping them with overstress, get over that. And so I was there and I was able to participate and got some clients that way, quite a few. So you explore opportunities. I really love what you guys are doing. Might be something you'd say, I'd love to support your mission. And so it's a great way. And you can do that virtually. You and a local business can have a local remote event. And this brings me to collaboration. We have JJ Virgin talking about this. She says, a rising tide lifts all boats, and you collaborate with people. You refer out to your colleagues, co-lead groups, for example, share resources. It's a really powerful way to build your business. And I know from personal experience, it works. What about social media? Summer Bach talks about that in our business track. So the first question we address is, what about a business page? Is that a good idea, like on Facebook? And she says, yes, it establishes credibility, awareness of the work you're doing. But what if you don't have any customers or fans or following yet? Well, you begin with, again, it's personal relationships, personal friends, people you know in your community. Invite them to like your page. Be patient, it'll grow over time. And those friends, they can't be your clients because it's too close of a relationship. They can refer their friends and other people. So it'll spread through word of mouth. And she suggests, and I agree, one social media channel to stick with, to grow, to focus on, because it can get very overwhelming and time consuming. So which one do you naturally gravitate towards? Which one do you check first? So maybe that depends on your skill set. Are you good at photography? So perhaps Pinterest or Instagram. Well, maybe if you're a good writer, you might say, well, Facebook is more for me, or Twitter or LinkedIn as well. Let's talk about getting paid. So pricing really determines your business model. It's the type of client you attract, the service you offer, the number of people you're going to accept. So if you price your services at a higher point, then it would be more high touch coaching. You're going to have perhaps a smaller number of clients. You want to give them a different level of service. If you have a lower price point, then you expand, you maybe see more people, and you perhaps see them in groups, which we will talk about later on. Sachin Patel, who teaches for us, says have multiple price points, including free offerings. That builds your value. So perhaps you have a high level one-on-one coaching, and then you perhaps have a lot of different groups, and then you could have some free things. Maybe you have videos you could give out, PDFs, ebooks, and the like. So what about practitioners? If you want to work with practitioners, we really think this is a wonderful model and growing. I can't tell you how many practitioners are coming to us saying, help us find a coach. So what are some ways that practitioners can engage? And a crucial question, if you're going to be talking to a doctor or business owner, I'm a business owner, what would inspire me to hire a coach? Well, you want to show that you are fully committed, viewing their practice as your business, helping to grow it with them, and aligned with the mission of the practice. Most people are choosing an independent contractor model, and that would be where you are not paid like a full-time salary, but you come on as a contractor. And this is lower risk for the practice. You get paid after the business gets paid. And so especially if it's a cash-based practice, this model is working very, very well. Many of the practitioners are having their coaches just part of a flat fee. So they will charge their patient a flat rate. It'll include seeing the doctor. It'll include sessions with the coach. How do you get your foot in the door? Well, it's relationships again. this time with key people, conversations. The office manager is a great person to get to know. Office staff is key. When I was working as a psychologist in private practice, I found out that there was this huge primary care practice in the neighborhood, and somebody I went to high school with, I hadn't seen her in many, many years, was the biller. She was in charge of, she called the insurance companies and helped with contracting. So I connected with her. She was the best referral source for me in that practice. So perhaps you can find somebody you know who works with a medical practice, and they can make the introduction, they can get you in the door. So, and one of the things that we stress is be really specific, don't be vague. So let's say you have talked to somebody in the office or the doctor, and you could say things like, well, remember me as a resource. And you know, if you need somebody to refer patients to in the future, you just remember me. But what about if you were specific and told them the next steps? Can you think of 2 or 3 patients now that would benefit from additional help? Perhaps you've identified yourself. Again, think of your specialty. So maybe your specialty is working with people with type 2 diabetes and blood sugar dysregulation. Can you think of a few people right now that could benefit from working with a coach to lower their blood levels, blood glucose? Okay, let's go on to preparing for the future. What's it going to look like? So the group visits, and I like the purpose of group visits, which is something that I led group visits for years. Elyse and I co-led. Treat loneliness. That's what Dr. Jeffrey Geller says, who is the person who is most influential in developing the group medical visit model. It's so important. So he talks about facilitating group visits. And we know that people who lead groups have less burnout and enjoy their jobs more. This is so fulfilling. And they increase capacity, and so important to increase access for everybody to functional medicine. And what else is in the future and growing? Coaching and remote patient monitoring. So this will be very, very important, and it's a way that coaches are going to be indispensable for medical practices. And then what's down the road is insurance reimbursement. We currently have CPT codes. These are the codes that you use to bill insurance. And right now they're at what's called category 3. And that means that health and wellness coaching has been identified as a promising delivery system, and they're watching it. They're seeing how effective are these codes, and they track it by how many people are using it. And to use this code, there are these codes here that are listed for individual and group. You need to be board certified as a health coach, and we are fortunate to be an approved school so that you can sit for that exam to become board certified. This is a home run for the industry, and we had Leanne Webster, the executive director of the National Board for Health and Wellness Coaching, speak about this in her talk. So some strategies for success. Board certification, as we mentioned. Leanne calls it the icing on the cake. It shows you have gone the extra mile. It's a stamp of approval that you have met the minimum standards. And it shows potential clients, referral sources, doctors, that you have taken the extra steps to earn this valuable credential. It is the gold standard. We also teach another strategy for success, and that is who, not how. Why struggle if it's not your wheelhouse? Well, what might that look like? Well, legal, accounting. There are people who can help you. Technology, I certainly couldn't do either of those categories, or graphic design. I'm not a good graphic artist, and so it would take me hours and hours, and even then it wouldn't look presentable. What about copying and copywriting, editing, if that's not your strong suit? And you look into ways to make it easier. That's why I do something that could be automated, or organizational tools, or even looking into communication software, and then virtual assistants where you can bring somebody on to help you. So what's another strategy? Well, start before you're ready. That's what this is. I was here with, this is my kitchen with Elyse and my daughter Carly. She's our chief operating officer. And we had our mission. We were excited. IFM was signed on, the Institute for Functional Medicine, to collaborate with us. And we hadn't really looked at, kept deliberating, well, what if, and should we start, is it right? We just decided, we were so passionate and we trusted the process. This was the little office where it started. I had a small practice in Highland Park, Illinois. Elyse was working with me, and we dreamed big and persevere. There are going to be obstacles. You can't help it. You keep going. You keep going, climbing higher and higher. And Joan Rosenberg says, we disappoint our way to success. This was one of the things we tried early on, way before FMCA. We had Feed Your Mind Wellness. We were going to do corporate wellness, and it was okay, but it wasn't a rousing success, and so we dropped it. And so sometimes it's being realistic to say, this is not my passion, and finding, something else, moving on to something better. Here we are working with a local grocery store, Sunset Foods, and we had teamed up with Dr. Leslie Mendoza Temple, who runs an integrative medicine center. And we had some projects just be fun. We had a lot of fun going in, partnering with, they had a demo kitchen, and we gave a series of Saturday morning talks and demos about juices and smoothies and desserts for kids. And yeah, only a handful of people were in the audience, but some of those people ended up being great people that we connected with. As Mary Morrissey says, if I waited to make an impact in people's lives until I was perfect, I would still be waiting. So celebrate tiny wins. So important to do that. And that's what you're going to be doing with your clients, helping them in that celebration. Focus on relationships, not revenue. That's how the revenue will come. Wake up in the morning to create impact. Building a successful business is the byproduct. Here's what some people have said, some of our business faculty. I think coaches are going to be a very important part of healthcare, and we need a lot more coaches. Dr. Jeffrey Geller, who is the integrative medicine for the underserved, which is a great nonprofit that he is very involved with. From Sasha, go out there and help people because the world needs you now more than ever. From B. Jeffrey Madoff, who is somebody who has worked with some of the biggest companies like Ralph Lauren, developing their advertising campaign. Be clear about what your motivation is, and that will keep propelling you forward. From Summer Bach, shout from the rooftops about what you're doing and how you're helping people, yes. And from Joe Polish, one of the greatest marketers that in the world, he teaches for us, do everything humanly possible to deliver something to someone that's going to give them a better future. That is what Joe says is the essence of marketing, building a good business. That's where you start, from that intention. And then Sasha goes further and says, think about when you're changing a behavior, you're also changing the impression that they're leaving on their children and other family members and potentially an entire community. So it's a ripple effect. And Leslie Vitale says, you as the health coach can literally be the savior for these busy doctors. We know that from what they have reported back when they got a coach. So again, wake up in the morning to create impact, stand in the future and ask, what steps will I be happy that I took today? Step into your meant for more life and leave woulda, coulda, shoulda behind. From Lisa Sasevich. So here's some information. There's our website and admissions at functionalmedicinecoaching.org. And now I have the pleasure of turning it over to Elyse, who is going to talk about your questions, and we will answer them.
Thank you, Sandy, and welcome everyone. Great to be here with you all. So a lot of you entered some great questions in, and we're going to dig into those. And one of the first questions that always comes up, we'll just get this out of the way, front and center, is around tuition and payment plan information. So there was a lot of questions that came in on that, and I want to just encourage you to head over to our website. It's right on the screen, functionalmedicinecoaching.org, and you can download our information packet. It's chock full of great information about the program, as well as tuition, which is our standard tuition is $7,997. And then there are a couple payment plans and different options that we have for you. And then I also encourage you, for a unique situation that you have, or if you want to talk about finances, we have an amazing admissions team. All of our team members have gone through the coaching academy, and they are there to support you and to really guide you on the best decision for you. So I encourage you, you can head over to our website, and there's a little connect button, and you can press that, and you can call us and leave a voicemail. After hours it is right now, but typically someone will answer the phone, or you can set up a call and speak with someone face to face. And so to go over a couple of the general program questions, and then we're going to dig into some of those business questions that I'll probably throw over to Sandi as well. So a lot of people have asked, how long is the program, and what kind of weekly time commitment is required to do the program? So this is a year-long program, and we start, our next enrollment actually is opening up on November 18th, which is right around the corner, and we will officially start on March 1st. So March 1st, 2021 will be our next class, and it is 12 months. And so typically the time commitment on this program depends on how you learn best, but anywhere from 10 to 12 hours a week. And any of our admissions team members are happy to chat with you more about that and support you on what that would look like for your life. So there's a lot of different ways to consume the information and the content that we have for you. Now I'm going to share this question, and Sandi, I'm going to toss some of this question over to you. This is a really great question, and we get this all the time. And that question is, what's the difference between FMCA and other health coach schools and university programs?
Sure. So we are an approved school by the National Board for Health and Wellness Coaching. And so you can sit for that board certification exam. Now, there are other schools who are also approved, but our main difference is that we are a collaboration with the Institute for Functional Medicine. They are the gold standard for training doctors, and their numbers are soaring. People who are in medical professions are flocking to IFM for training. And so we have many advantages of being this collaboration. It means that they integrate the need for a coach, and so we have a lot of joint activities with IFM. And so we're very, very grateful. So that means that our curriculum in the functional medicine piece is taught by their senior faculty. We use their slides. So that's one of the ways. I think that we have a very high touch. So Elyse and I have office hours. We are committed. We personally answer emails that are coming to us. And so we are really very, very involved in your coaching journey. And even when you are an alum, we also have an alumni program that we're very, very invested in continuing the training, the mentoring that we're offering. And we are also innovators. So we developed this model of functional medicine coaching because I had learning, prior training in these methodologies, put them together in terms of positive psychology and mind-body medicine, psychology of eating, paired with functional medicine. So we developed that model that we're proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would just second that. There is so much support in this program from your live training sessions and your cohorts and your course facilitators, as well as Sandi and myself and the rest of the FMCA. We call it family because it truly feels like that. We have students and alumni from all over the world. I think we probably have almost all the states covered, and over 30 plus countries as well. So yeah, go ahead, Sandi.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, and now we have this business track, which yes, we have built with love, and it's themed about being love, heart-centered.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And so this is a great question that we get around, if your academic background is not health related. So if you're coming from a background, whether it's business or maybe it's accounting or you're a lawyer, which we have a lot of non-health related students in the program and alums. So this person is asking, is health coaching still an accessible career option?
You'll be a better coach than a lot of our practitioners who come to us, people who've been experts in the field, who are those with a background in healthcare. They have been trained to be the experts, and so they often struggle with adopting a coach approach more than somebody who's coming in as a newbie, new to healthcare. So yes, the research bears that out. You can be a fantastic coach with no background in healthcare. And so about half of our students would meet those criteria for no background in healthcare.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other question is, what kind of person makes an excellent health coach?
Oh boy, it's the fact that you're a good listener. You are heart-centered. You're a giver, as we talked about earlier. That is, you have a mission and a purpose. You feel like you have a calling to serve others. Listening is so important. People want to be heard.
Yeah, absolutely. And, who becomes a health coach? It really truly can be anyone. We have so many. In fact, I take some admissions calls, and I've had the pleasure of speaking to many prospective students, now alumni, and to hear everyone's story. Like Sandy said, everyone comes to FMCA, whether they have a story personally or someone that they know has been touched by functional medicine and their lives have been transformed. And they are passionate about learning more and wanting to share and pay this forward, help others. So if you have a passion to serve and help, then you can absolutely become a great or excellent coach. And we encourage you to join us.
And no restrictions. We have people who are in their 20s, and we have somebody who's in their 80s. Many
Absolutely.
people actually are older and come to us in retirement.
Yes, absolutely. And so now we move over to the business related questions, and there are some really great questions. So thank you for all of those. The first question is, how can a health coach market themselves to a school district or an education system to provide guidance to teens and young adults?
Start with relationships. Who do you know at the school? Are you a parent? Do you know people in the PTA? Do you have friends, neighbors, relatives? So you start with connections, and then you grow those relationships, and you volunteer, and you present, you're specific with them. I can give a talk at the virtual PTA meeting about how do you help kids transition from a high sugar diet, perhaps, or what do they want to know? You do some research beforehand. What are some topics that would resonate with them? What would they like to see if you came in and did a workshop for the kids? We have a lot of people who are working in that area.
Absolutely. And just like Sandy had mentioned, for the practices, if you go to the person who's working at the front, whether it's the medical assistant or some sort of an admin, same thing with schools. You can go to the receptionist instead of going to the dean. So you can start there and see where that leads you. So this is a question specifically about the business track. And are you going to help us create websites or social media accounts and tell us how to go about posting on Instagram or Facebook?
So yes, we will provide essentials for that. We will not have you give you a template so that everybody has a cookie cutter website, but we will focus on how do you find the resources to get it done. And so it often relates to that who, not how. And so many people say, well, they can get somebody, a child, a teenager who can be better and can help them and create. So who do you know and what connections do you have is number one for do some of those things. And then if you have something specific, questions, we are building that into the the track that we have in business building, things change very rapidly. And so we may recommend something, and then the next day it might be outmoded and there's something new that comes along. So we focus on how do you get the answers and how do you make this simple for you, because many people get stuck there. And so we move to, well, how can you get, what's the minimum that you need in a website, for example, and then how could you focus? Your gift might be in building those relationships that will help you more than spending hours and hours and hours doing the work yourself creating a website.
Absolutely. And this next question, I just have to say, if you're listening and you wrote this in, I appreciate your courage and vulnerability for asking this. I'm sure there's quite a lot of people who feel the same way. And this person writes in, as a professional changing careers and in my 50s, I'm scared to make the leap for fear of no experience and age bias. However, I feel strongly this is the field I need to be working in. I worry about the money and my husband not supporting me if I cannot get it off the ground.
That's why we're here, to help you, to support you, to give you resources, to encourage you. You're not alone. And so you would come to the office hours that Elyse and I have, and we would work with you. And then you would work, if you go on to be part of our membership, in our alumni program, you would have mentoring in these areas. So we would walk you through all of those things and how to get it off the ground. And many people who are in a career, they start with what they know. We have so many examples of lawyers who have started presenting lunch and learns at law firms. We have nurses who have gone into their hospitals and they're working with other nurses, and it's growing and it's multiplying, and they're so excited. So that's a common pathway. You don't abandon what you know, but you say, how can I bring these skills with me? So you have a lot of skills in your years of working that you can use to launch this business.
Yes. Yes. And I also encourage you to go with that feeling. You feel really strongly about this field. It sounds like you're super passionate. Sandi and I went with a feeling to start FMCA. It was a feeling. And yes, we were worried along the way about certain things, but it all ends up working out. Just I know it's kind of cliche, keep believing in yourself. And if you feel that strongly about it, I encourage you to listen to that feeling. Oh, here's a great one. What mistakes do new business owners make?
Yeah, I think that they take on too much. They don't focus. And so they have dozens of things that they want to get into and they rush. So you focus, you do a sprint one at a time. And so you address one thing and you really dig deep, and that can really help you. And also really focus on being a giver, and rather than overwhelming yourself. Again, going back to relationships, think of your connections, develop those connections, relationships. And also a big mistake is fear. And so there's a saying that the more open you are to a no, the more likely you are to get a yes. And so you take those risks. Many people are so afraid they don't take the risk, they don't ask, and so they don't make their offer. Well, you'll learn about that in Lisa Sasovich's book and her talk about making what she calls an irresistible offer. They hold themselves back out of fear.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about marketing during this time and post-pandemic? What would that look like?
Yeah. So this is what's called ethical opportunity. Jay Abraham talks about this, and that is you have what people need right now. This is now more than ever. People are concerned. I just read this morning that health coaching is soaring. Companies are hiring health coaches in droves because people are concerned. They're worried. They're starting to think about their health. Often for the first time, they're feeling vulnerable. And so the increase in people wanting coaches is really strong, and companies are really using coaches. And so it is the right time to market, because you are offering people an opportunity. So marketing is really an opportunity or selling is an opportunity for transformation. You have something to give that people need. And so to not market to them, to not let them know I'm a health coach and I help people to have better lives. And so not to market would be really a disservice to the world, really, to where we're getting healthier together. And so you're part of that movement as a health coach. And so if you have a group, you get people together. And so it's ethical opportunity.
Yes. And on that same note, as a health coach, how can someone monetize their coaching skills, and how do you really go about pricing out your services?
Sure. So you look at, first of all, not undervaluing yourself. You have a service that is important. And so you look at, there's some precedent in the industry for what we would start with the geographic location. And it's also the population you serve. If your mission is to serve underserved, then your price point would be different. You might offer more groups that are extremely affordable. And so then the other end would be if you have a higher price point, it would be if you're going after a clientele that would be able to afford those services. So you figure that out first. You start with, who do I want to serve? What's my population? And really dig deep into defining that person. You know, what do they like? What magazines what journals do they, what do they read? What inspires them? Where do they shop? You learn all about them. You picture this person that you want to serve. And once you're crystal clear there, that will guide you to what your price point will be.
Yeah. And it also goes into this next question: is social media really necessary?
So it is not 100% necessary, and many people are moving away from some sort of social media. You look at what platform. So it doesn't have to be that you have to be on all of them. Perhaps Facebook isn't for you, but you want LinkedIn. LinkedIn can be extremely effective, and so perhaps you want to focus there. Or you, again, it's looking at where is your market. So if you are working with kids, you want to coach adolescents, or you have a younger clientele, then perhaps TikTok is free. I don't know anything about TikTok, but some people like Pinterest. It's their audience is on Pinterest. So again, start with your audience. Who do you want to reach? And then you make that decision. Is social media free? Are they on social media? If you're working with a geriatric population, perhaps you're passionate about helping people prevent cognitive decline. Well, then not so much social media. You might want to send out a physical mailing. We didn't talk about that, but we strongly believe in the importance of getting something in the mail. So maybe you want to have a physical, old-fashioned newsletter, again, depending on the population that you want to reach.
Yeah, absolutely. I had this question today on an admissions call, and that was, yes, very, very great information. And so let's move on to program questions and scope of practice. So one of the questions that comes up is, what can you legally do as a health coach when it comes to nutrition, and what has to be referred out?
Sure, you can educate and you can guide. We are fortunate that we are collaborating with the Institute for Functional Medicine. They have developed a series of food plans. We teach those, and we teach them on how you can use them as a coach. And so this would be where you are educating and you are providing support. You are helping people understand what has been identified as the food plan that they should follow, for example. Where you would want to refer out and I'm so glad you brought up referring out, because that's how you build your business, by referring out. So you get to know those nutritionists, dietitians in the area, those that support your values and are on the same page with you. And then they might come in for a consult. So if somebody has compromised digestion and they're on multiple medications, then that definitely would be something in the area for a consultation. And so we teach a model if you're on a collaborative care team. And so the practitioner would recommend the dietary plan, and then you have the most important role. You are the ones who are going to help people change their behavior. You are behavior change specialists. That's where the power is, because many of these people have seen one expert after another, and it's hard to just do it, to listen and get a food plan, get a diet, and oh, I could follow this. Well, there's a lot of obstacles. People fall off the wagon, and that's really what the coach does. That's the secret sauce. That's what makes coaching so special.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, coaches are the secret sauce. You guys are the glue that holds everything together and really helps the client, or if you're working with the doctor, the patients, to implement what is being presented to them. And it is so, so powerful and very special. That's where the change comes in. So just a question here on the art of asking the right questions. How do you do that? How do you develop this as you go through the program, especially so that you can help clients unlock their full potential?
By practicing. Think of anything you've ever learned in your life. It's maybe something that feels awkward at first, and there are ways that coaches will ask questions. And you're right, it is an art, and you can learn it, and you through practice, and that's what the live training sessions are for. You try it out and you get feedback, and then you try it out on everybody, your family, your friends. It starts to become second nature after a while, because you form new neural pathways in the brain. That's the coach approach, and now it's just part of you, and it comes from the heart. And so it's really genuine, and without feeling forced, like you have a script of certain questions you must ask. It really is in the conversation where you're so involved in that client's journey that it comes natural to ask a question because you're curious and interested in them.
Yeah, and the coach approach is something that you can utilize not just in coaching sessions. You can use it at work, you can use it with your family, your friends. There's so many different elements and ways that you can bring coaching into your life. So here's another question around, if I'm already a health coach and I already have a health coach certification, how can I utilize FMCA's coaching program to augment my current practice?
Many people come to us from other programs because they want to take a real deep dive into functional medicine as well as in positive psychology. There's also the benefit, if you are not from an approved school, to sit for the board exam. And by board exam, I'm talking about the National Board for Health and Wellness Coaching. I want to be really clear. There may be other boards out there, and to do your homework, that this is the board that works with the National Board of Medical Examiners. They're partners, and they're working with the AMA, the American Medical Association, for insurance codes. And so and this is restricted to only people who are board certified. So if you're from another school, many people come to us in those circumstances because they want to be able to sit for that crucial board certification.
Yes, and then talking about after certification and what happens then, are there coaches who can mentor us as graduates as we begin our journey into the coaching world?
Resounding yes. We have so many talented people doing a variety of things. So it's personalized, and we're thrilled to hear about our graduates and what they're up to, and many are coming on as mentors.
Yeah, absolutely. And what kind of support and resources for job placement happen after certification, after you become certified?
Huge. We have a whole department. We have a whole department of alumni. I just met with that department today, and she said physicians are coming in droves. They are so interested in hiring. And there was a conference I was recently at, and there was somebody who was commenting in the chat that she was now considering, she was already a health coach from another school, and she was trying to connect with doctors at this event, and she was being told, well, I only hire FMCA coaches. So she said, well, I guess I'm going to enroll and become a student because this is a good opportunity. So we have companies coming to us. We have a lot of people interested in hiring our coaches. So they refer to us as the gold standard. So we're proud of that.
Yes, we are. And what are different non-traditional ways you can use a health coaching certification?
What comes to mind is Jason, one of our graduates, who is a high school teacher. And he went through the course, he taught health, and he developed a whole curriculum for his students in functional medicine paired with positive psychology. So he's teaching these young people about functional medicine in their health class, and they're going out and doing personalized assignments. So that's one way. There are other people who have gone on. There's one woman in Australia who's gone into the outback. She's retired as a teacher and she is doing outreach for them. We have people who are writing blogs. We have people who are working. One of our graduates works with Dr. Mark Hyman. She is the head of his content for a lot of the things that he does. So she was trained with us, as were many others at his Ultra Wellness Center. And so she heads that whole division, and she's doing that with her health coach training.
Yeah, there are so many ways to bring in your creativity, all of your skills and your background, and you can really pull in all of your different passions and create this beautiful approach to coaching. So great question here. How likely for a person who has no medical background, how likely is it to succeed as a health coach and earn money?
Well, I can point to many, many examples. There's somebody I just talked about today, Summer Bach, actually, is a health coach. She's known as the fermentation specialist, and she has a very, very thriving career that she's gone on to do from being a health coach. So many examples of that. I think it's unlimited potential, limited only by your creativity, and dream big, as Mary Morrissey said, create the dream and then design it. And as we said earlier, healthcare background is not required. In fact, sometimes that you need to overcome being the expert. And so we have many people who are wonderful coaches from a healthcare background and an equal number from no background who can have very successful careers.
Yes, and just a couple more questions here. So this is a great question. We touched about it in the slides, but how do I truly differentiate myself as a functional medicine health coach when there is a sea of other health coaches out there?
Sure. Well, you have your story. Now, first and foremost, that's what differentiates you. That's how people will remember you. You share your story. How did you come to be a health coach? And so that's memorable. And then you, as a functional medicine coach, you will speak the same language as these doctors who are trained by the Institute for Functional Medicine. That's what they're looking for. They want somebody who knows the tools, the operating systems of functional medicine. And, oh, you studied with the same teachers that I did. And so that will then help you to get in the door of these practices. And you won't even have to get in the door. They're coming to our door to find you.
Yeah, and Sandi and I are very passionate about making sure that our students and graduates have opportunities to go out and work. So we love connecting people with practitioners or companies or jobs. And so every day we see more and more people just saying, I need a health coach. I need to work with a health coach.
We're matchmakers. I'm a matchmaker.
So a couple more questions. And then of course, you can always reach out to our admissions team. The last question is, and I have a little friend who's joining me here. This is Shay, this is my daughter, and she's 3. Couple of questions. One last question is, what are the new skills that are necessary in coaching in a post-pandemic world?
The new skills would be skills you already have: listening, people want to be heard. And they're often lonely, isolated, fearful. And so you bring community. And I'm passionate about teaching group process and how you can connect with people. So you bring people together and you listen. And now they feel heard, they're part of a community, even just a relationship one-on-one, that's a community. And it's really powerful and healing. So what you're doing as a coach is building immunity. And so that's really what we've talked about today, is how do you help people with build a strong immune system, and it is by the connection they can have with a coach. And that's why you're needed now. It's so important that we have coaches, and there's a shortage of coaches. So that's why we're saying just go out there, and that's you will have a big impact. And especially now. And coaches are very well suited to working virtually. We train on virtual. There were naysayers when we started FMCA, like, you have to have some live in-person component. And I knew the power of virtual and how we could be done with experientially with our cohort groups, our live training sessions. And there was this relatively new platform at the time called Zoom 5 years ago. We took a chance on it, and very few people actually heard of it back then. And so it worked. And so that's the way that you can be so much of service right now, offering virtual services.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to close here, I just want to say how grateful and honored we are that you took time out of your evening, afternoon, morning, whenever you're watching this, be on live with us. And thank you for your submission of questions. We are here to support you and serve you. Please do feel free to reach out, head over to our website and connect with us. You can set up a call to speak with an admissions team member. You can email us at admissions@functionalmedicinecoaching.org. We are just excited to connect with you and to have you be a part of our functional medicine family. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you, and we honor you. We love you. So bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Take care.